Okay, so let me show you just so that, especially Steve, since you're in the call, and then for the recording, just what Dana's talking about, to provide some context. So since today is all about photos, what Dana is talking about is when you have a listing, so this is a guest view of a property. So whenever you're on Airbnb, you can be in traveling mode or hosting mode. And Dana was talking about how there's a new feature. It's not really new anymore. It's about a year at this point, where they want you to categorize your photos. So this is what the listing editor looks like. So if you want to rearrange your photo order, you're going to be clicking here, going into all photos, and you can arrange your photos in the various order. So I want this as my cover photo. This is picture number 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the top 5 pictures that I ordered. Now you can see are my cover pictures, my top 5 cover pictures. So what Dana is talking about is not editing from here. This is going to order your pictures for someone who's on mobile phone. And when you're on mobile phone, you can kind of swipe through like this. And I cannot demonstrate it. I can just show you the gesture, but you can swipe through on the mobile app and go through one by one picture all the way to the bottom. Um, Otherwise, what happens is a guest will go here and they're clicked on your listing and they see all these gorgeous pictures. And now there's this label down here that says show all photos. So guests click on that. Or what's tricky is psychologically, guests are thinking they may not even be clicking the show all photos button. They're like, ooh, I like this cover photo. Click. And then what's happening is they're getting taken to a photo tour. This is the new. This is the newer version of Airbnb where they have the photo tour. And Dana is mentioning this, but the downfalls potentially of the photo tour are that guest they were interested in this picture, so they clicked on it, and now they're like, "Where's the picture?" They have to scroll and scroll, and it's giving us this photo tour based on a layout of a house. And we know as Airbnb guests, this is not going to buy a home from Zillow. Like this is guests want to see the hot tub. They want to see the grill. They want to see the game room or the weight room or the local attractions. They don't need to have this walkthrough categorized version of a property. And so it's kind of this downfall of, putting pictures into each individual category. Or what some other hosts are doing. I'll show you an example because I have one, I think. Let me try to find, I have lots of examples for you guys today, which I'm so visual as a learner. So I hope that is helpful for everyone who watches this call. But let me do, oh, I might have to go. Let me see if this this property. Give me a sec, guys. I need to remember. Okay. So another version you can see is I'm on this property's listing. And when I click, I'm like, oh, cool, a house. I click on it and it just brings me to the photos not in categories. It's not labeled by bedroom, living room, game room, exterior. It's just all the pictures in whatever order we want them to be displayed. Okay. So this is what Dana's talking about is what's better? Do we utilize the new Airbnb? I've actually stayed in this property too, you guys. It's fabulous. But do we utilize the new Airbnb feature that typically when Airbnb has a feature, they usually are trying to say, hey, use our feature the way that we want you to use it because that's why we came out with the feature. So there's that theory. And then there's the theory of, well, the guest experience when they're viewing the listing is going to be so much better when they can just scroll through and I can put my best photos forward and maybe my not so all your photos should be good, but maybe the not as important photos at the bottom because we know attention span is short. So Dana, I know we've talked about this a couple times on various calls, and I know sometimes it's frustrating when I say that I don't have the answer, but legitimately, I don't have the answer. I don't know what is better, what is not better, what's favored, what's not favored. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's necessarily worth the brain power and effort to get so hung up on deciding to go one way or the other about if you put your photos in the old way or in the new categorized way. I don't think that's ultimately going to be the game changer for conversions to bookings. So I really like to highlight that with there's all these little details of being an Airbnb host that need to come together for you to be successful, but like hyper focusing or getting too focused on those little details at the end of the day isn't going to make or break your business. So I recommend, like you did, Dana, I think you're a great example of this, and you just mentioned this, take time to do both options. So if you're noticing, man, it just seems like we have so many great pictures to display and guests are saying, well, we never saw your picture of a game room. Maybe try the other version where you can see all of the pictures at once, like this. So I think it's worth toying around with, but not getting overly fixated on deciding that that little detail is going to make or break. So, but honestly, I love being able to talk about those nitty-gritty details because that tells me you're at a point in your hosting journey where you've nailed down a lot of the fundamental logistics and you've got a lot of the basic information down. So you can start thinking about these little things that may or may not move the needle. So I think that's awesome. So Stephen, that's a kind of breakdown of, I can't remember if you go by Steve or Steven, but either way, I'm sure it's fine. Um, that's what Dana was mentioning, and I think that's a fantastic topic leading into what we were going to talk about today, which is all about photos. So if you guys want to get into it, also drop your where's my chat? This always happens. There it is. Drop questions in the chat as we go along. I'll stop to review anything. It's just us today. Sometimes it's nice when, I don't know, people must be busy with back to school or child drop-offs or something. We've got a smaller group. But and Steve, I want you to take this all to heart because you're going to be in this phase and you're going to have a decision to make about just trusting any photographer or really having kind of the authority to say, no, I know exactly what I need in photos and I'm trying to empower you with that information. So,
I've got your team is going to be doing it all. So
oh, okay,
your
awesome.
whole design team is doing it all, taking care of everything. They say I'm going over to Prague to see Juliana on the 19th, and I come back on the 30th, and I said I wanted to help put it together, and they tell me that they'll probably be done by then. So
Amazing. I'll just a little clarification. So I am independent contract for coaching calls. So you're referring to the 1% investor, aka B&B leverage, and the design team and the 1% investor team.
yes,
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I am excited for you. Um, but you can still, with that said, I think it's important to still say, hey, I'm the host, and I can have these ideas or this knowledge to be able to, yes, have it be hands off, but um be equipped with that information to make it next level. So always being your number one advocate, and you are always going to have your best interest in mind about what you want and how to guide the team as they make decisions on your behalf as well. So, okay, so with various staging, lighting, and design, I guess, setup techniques, you can stand out as a listing. So photos matter, you guys, because legitimately they're the number one reason that someone clicks on your listing. We have to draw from emotion and we have to generate interest. So people are scrolling. It is the era of scrolling. You've got to make people stop scrolling. Um, guests make decisions emotionally, and a lot of emotions can be evoked. We can't show who we are through our listing. We can't show the potential guests, "Hi, I'm Emily. I would love to host you. I make you fresh cookies every time." We don't have that opportunity. All we have is our picture. So we have to draw emotion from that. It is a known fact that the Airbnb algorithm, since years ago, this is not a new thing. They reward properties with strong photos, and they will push you higher in results based on the resolution of the photos, the alignment of your photos, and I'll show you some not so good photos. I hate to use the word bad, but I'll be gentle and I'll say not so good photos. So I shouldn't put here great photos, not good photos. Great photos equal more clicks, more bookings, more revenue, more success, more opportunity to scale your business. So there is data on this, you guys. The data that IntelliHost has kind of talks about how many photos you should have. And I know a few calls ago with Dana, we were talking about this as well, where it's like you guys have so many fabulous pictures to choose from. So should you delete some? Should you, trim down your pictures? But really, so, okay, this is a pretty small study, but across about 100 properties that added pictures to their listing, there was an increased first page impression. So your listing became more visible. And then there wasn't necessarily a change in the amount of clicks. And there was a small dip in conversion, likely because of the numbers just changing. But with that said, you should be adding pictures to your listing to refresh your listing. And if you only have, let's say, 15 pictures, maybe that's not enough. So make sure you're capturing each spot of your house. If you have a smaller house, it probably makes sense for you to have less photos, but you can beef it up by maybe including more exterior photos or getting drone photos or getting photos of the neighborhood. And then if you have a larger listing, you have to prioritize the main spaces first. So Steve, with your 5 bedroom, you've got to have I call them money shots or a hero picture of each room. So each bedroom needs that one shot that's like, wow, that's a great picture. The kitchen, the basement, the game room, those each area of the house needs a money shot, and then you can add additional detailed shots around those. So that's a fun little fact. Uh, More photos can mean more eyeballs on your listing. You don't want thousands, but you don't want a tiny amount. There's a happy medium. And quality and intention are always going to trump numbers, trump just having a lot of photos for the sake of having a lot of photos. So I already demonstrated this, but you want to lead with your strongest pictures and you want to lead really by season. So soon, you guys, this is about to be what happens in about a week here in Colorado. So this is right outside our front door. And yeah, I will probably put this on one of my top 5 because this leaf peeping is one of the main reasons people come to the area. So it would be silly of me to not put this as one of my main attractions. This, I'm just showing you guys my property now, but this actually is a hike that is just down the road from our listing. This is my husband's photography, which I'll show you his portfolio to give you guys a good demonstration of great photos. But you've got to be showing off these things that are near your property and during the right times. So if I had this picture as my cover right now, and my potential guests are coming to see the leaves, they may think, I have a hard time picturing myself here. But after leaf peeping season, guess what my cover picture is going to be? It's going to be this one because guests want to picture themselves cozied up with a hot chocolate in the mountains with their ski gear on. So you've got to think about the emotional experience of a potential guest. And I don't know, guys, give me some feedback on what photos we should have because there's too many to choose from. I love this nighttime picture. So this is an example of a twilight picture, which can be really important as well. So, okay, so we already talked about this, but including every room. So you can't be missing a bedroom. And back to Dana's point about if we should put pictures in categories. Again, I'll show you guys what I mean by that. Here's categories, and here's a listing that's not categorized. Um, Here, what you need to do is still put the bedrooms in categories, because when a guest is scrolling on your listing, they may say, okay, we've got grandma and grandpa, aunt and uncle, and then our two friends, and we need a picture where people are sleeping. Okay, one, two, three, four. People start counting, and oh, they say, oh, the kids will sleep here. They want to visualize who's sleeping where and call dibs on on the sleeping. So I recommend putting the bedrooms in categories. And let's see if they did it on this one. I don't think it is. Oh yeah, it is. So you can still categorize the bedrooms and have the listing display um, as a scroll versus a categorized photo tour. Photo tour is the word I'm looking for. That keeps leaving my brain. Okay, so you don't want repetition. I think that I probably have room in my listing to trim down some of the bedroom pictures. So we don't need 10 shots of the bedroom. We need 2 to 3 really great shots versus 10. It can be 10 really great shots or 10, mediocre shots. Natural lighting, and then, okay, that's repetitive. So the next thing I want you guys to think about is staging. This piece, and so Steve, this is what I'm talking about. Trusting, I guess the 1% investor team to find your photographer. And we are in Colorado, so if you need photography, let me know. But with staging, you've got to kind of direct it or have someone that's going to direct it on your behalf, because I promise you, it's very rare to find a photographer who's going to put in the extra effort. And that's kind of a you get what you pay for type of situation. So a lot of photographers have their camera, they have their tripod, and they have numbers to meet because maybe they work for a brokerage or they do this, where it's more about quantity over quality. They're not trying to build a short-term rental portfolio. So if they can get 10 properties in a day, great. That's great for their business. But not all the photographers who maybe charge a little more, they're going to give you suggestions of, I think we should remove XYZ. And they'll take a shot and then they'll say, oh gosh, the cords of the TV are in the background. I really need you guys to, get this taken care of so that the photos look good. Little lifestyle touches. I'll show you what I mean by that. And then, yeah, styling. So these are all things that your property doesn't set itself up. Someone has to do it. So it needs to be staged right. And those little details, it drives me insane when I see pictures of a TV and the cords are all over the wall looking messy. It's just I think kind of it exemplifies what your stay might be like with that host, because if they don't even pay attention to how their photos are, and it's a little cluttered, I might feel that way when they are not responding to my messages or they can't answer my questions. So it's like these subtleties that make everything different. You don't want half empty shampoo bottles if it's a clear bottle where you can see. So those little details. Um, Including the exterior. I see this one often missed where it's photo day and oops, as an owner, you forgot to get the lawn mowed and the landscaping right and the weeds pulled. Your photographer's there and they're not going to pull the weeds for you. So you have to make sure everything is aligned. Um, and if you have to have a redo, you'll have to pay for a redo. So my theory is have everything set and ready first, so you're not wasting anyone's time, and so you're not unhappy with the photos that you get. And there is a difference. I'll say it again. What you pay directly will reflect what you get. So just because photography is inexpensive, you should look at their portfolio and see if it screams emotion at you. Do you feel something, or do you feel like it's bland and like you're looking on Zillow? Because we don't want that. We need people to stop and look at the pictures so that they then want to stay there. We just had a bride staying at our property, and they had a photographer and a videographer, and that's part of the reason they booked our house because they could picture this happening there. So we got that booking over. This property doesn't even have mountain views, sort of. We're kind of down lower, so we don't have the high mountain views. So our property, because our photos can get booked over the properties that are even better than ours. Like ours is not the best house. We don't have the best views. So think of it that way. The guests want to be able to have a certain experience. So curate that for them and make them be able to demonstrate or picture themselves in that experience. Okay. I think I honed in that point enough, but you get what you pay for. You will always have your best interest. I kind of use an analogy like, um, let's say you're trusting your doctor with your health and they're the expert. Of course, the doctor is the expert, but you're always going to be your number one advocate. So even if that, even if you trust, um, your doctor and they have your best interest in mind, you're always going to be your number one biggest advocate because you are you and you are always going to have that interest for yourself. So I trust my doctor, but I still advocate for myself based on information provided. So I think that's important with photos is just understanding who's going to be doing your shots. Okay, so I won't talk too much about this. I should probably have a guest speaker that's an actual photographer. I know a lot about photography because I help my husband, who's a photographer, do staging, and I see a lot of the background of the editing and all of the things. Um, so lighting, you guys, is so important. Opening blinds. We don't want shots with all of the blinds closed. It just is unwelcoming. Um, on a slightly bright overcast day, photos are actually fabulous. And this is dependent on the photographer and all of the other lighting conditions, but sometimes turning off the interior lights because of different tones they can project is important, but this depends and your pro should know. I think that's the quote that I want to put here is your pro should know, should the interior lights be on or off? And if you're interviewing photographers, ask them, how do you shoot? Do you shoot with interior lights on or off? Tell me why. And if they can't give you an answer, then they probably don't know what they're doing. So, um, and then I should add twilight photos. We don't want our twilight photos to be super dark. They have to be edited appropriately so that the correct features are visible with the twilight pictures. But every listing by now, it's kind of a baseline. You need twilight photography, and if you don't have it, you won't stand out. So that's my suggestion. Um, Angles, so shooting from chest height, showing the whole room, using wide angle, but not every picture as wide angle. We do want detailed lifestyle shots, and that's getting more and more popular as STRs are getting more competitive. So make sure your listing isn't just, again, a Zillow display. You don't want to feel like you're looking at a piece of real estate that you could potentially purchase. Size and layout are important, but you can do things like have layout, a picture of the layout of your house in one shot versus trying to make it this photo tour to help give guests an idea of how they walk through the space. That's my suggestion there. We've already talked about working with a pro, but you want to have a list of all of the shots. The last thing you want, we do this with our cleaners too, right? Our cleaners need checklists. So why would our photographer not need a checklist? We need to know that we're communicating with them every shot that we're looking for specifically. So if they don't have a list and they didn't know you wanted a shot of the laundry room, whose fault is that? It's not really the photographer's fault. So making sure you're having those conversations and understanding what photos need to be taken and why. You want your photographer to be telling a story, not just setting up a tripod, showing a wide angle, snap, 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 leave. You don't want that. If your photographer is only there for 20 minutes, that is a red flag. So your photographer should be showing a story. You're getting professional design. I'd say 90% of the people in this group utilize professional design. Your design already has a story, but it's the photographer's job to show that story. So if you have this beautiful design that you paid for, but it's not photographed well, then you can't expect it to translate. You can't expect people to know what your property story is. So make sure your photographer understands the assignment. Tell them who you're trying to get to your house or get to your rental. You don't want them to assume that it's meant for business travelers when you have a property that's set up for couples. So then that helps them determine what detailed shots they need to make. If it's a business traveler heavy market, then you definitely want to have Wi-Fi, office, laptop setup, all those things. But if you're targeting couples primarily, you're going to want the romantic bathroom or tub or, whatever it is that your story is demonstrating. So, um, other ideas, I don't always recommend this, but I'll just put them here just in case. But um, you can offer stays for photographers if they're trying to build their portfolio, if budget is tight. You can trade services if you have a skill that you can offer for that photographer, or even just getting a smaller package. Oftentimes, photographers will have packages that they offer, and if you can't quite afford the full package of a really high-end photographer, start somewhere and then build up to, purchase the rest of the packages later. At least start with something would be my advice. And then you guys, you cannot use, I mean, iPhone pictures are fabulous, but even the editing has to be right with if you use iPhone pictures, but having a professional camera is going to be a big deal. So, worst case scenario, maybe, you added a new amenity down the line and you're like, gosh, I can't get that photographer back. Sure, do an iPhone picture, but it needs to look like the rest of your pictures. So, make sure it's a good iPhone. It's not an old iPhone. And the cameras are actually fabulous on iPhones these days, but it needs to align, it needs to have high resolution, and it needs to be edited appropriately if you have to add any iPhone pictures. What you don't want is for someone to be scrolling through your pictures and suddenly have inconsistency where one picture looks edited one way and then the next picture looks unprofessional. And that, you don't want your potential guest to be able to say, "Oh, what happened?" It gives a feeling of inconsistency and lack of professionalism, and it removes that emotion that they had when they clicked your listing because now they're judging. So, you don't want to present inconsistent. All right. I rushed through kind of the details. I do want to get into some examples. So, um, Steve, you're in Denver. So yeah, I think that this is just obviously a few shots, but I want to show you guys what I was talking about. So life's, or I guess exterior shots can in certain markets be really important. You don't want just a picture of a house. You want a detailed picture of a house with the sky right, the lighting right, some details with different landscaping. This is a vibe. It's got an aura about it. It's not just a picture of a house like you see on, I keep saying Zillow. Like you see on Zillow, right? Like, this is just a house and it's cool, but this is for a buyer that wants to buy the house. This is for someone that wants to picture themselves in an environment. Maybe they've never seen mountains before or wildflowers like this. So think about the emotion that they would get. Like, wow, I get an opportunity to see that for the first time. Cool. Here's another example of, kind of helping someone picture themselves relaxing. This day could be for someone who's ready to utilize this really awesome clawfoot tub and read their magazine and do their face mask. Men or women can do face masks. This picture is obviously, it's got the mountains in the background, so we're demonstrating the landscape, but also we're displaying how cool of a spot it is for kids to hang out. So we're obviously targeting families for this mountain property. Um, pools, fire pit. If this was unlit, it drives me nuts when I see a property that has a fire pit and the fire pit's just sitting there. It is not scroll stopping when you just see a fire pit. Fire pits are kind of ugly depending on how high end of a property you have. But when it's lit, you immediately can feel something. You can say, "Oh, cool. I bet that's warm." It gives off a warm, cozy feel. So don't let your photographer just take a picture of a fire pit. You can find a picture of a fire pit on Google. It's not how your listing is meant to be. This is one of my favorite pictures that sponsor has taken. I love this shot. It is vibey. I think that's the best word. It demonstrates the pool area. There's a place to sit. It's probably a cool environment that people can hang out. That's what we're trying to describe. Um, so you guys get the picture, right? I did this staging here, but you want blankets out by the fire pit. You want the s'mores. You want the right angle for the shot. If we're taking it from the other angle, we're gonna miss the views behind us. So this one's really cool. If you have neon lights, they need to be turned on. Your photographer needs to know that the neon lights are there. Maybe they don't know that the signs are there. So you've got to make sure they understand to have them turned on. The table is set. We've got silverware and dishes. This one's very simple. I think actually Spencer, this owner, I don't think had things on display. So find a photographer that's going to say, hey, my suggestion is we do XYZ, and then we'll take the extra time to set things up for you because they don't want your pictures to end up poor. So let's see, guys. This is a more detailed shot. Let me find, this is a unique angle of a living room. This would get you to be like, oh, that's fun, and probably click on this listing. So finding the photographers that can understand, awesome, there's a staircase. This will be able to help me get a cool angle versus the photographer who will just put their camera on the floor with their tripod and snap the picture and then walk away. That's what you pay for with photography. It is another form of design, and that is often overlooked. So, again, just some good examples of great photography versus, let's look at some. This is not for me to be putting anybody down. It is for me to be demonstrating what not to do, and also knowing that I wish I could reach out to each one of these owners and help them. So uh, you'll see that some of these listings here are doing well. They have reviews, they have stays, but the difference is the nightly rates. So depending on where they are and how high demand of a location it is, they may still be doing just fine. They may be doing better than I'm doing, but I guarantee they could do better if they had the correct design and photography. So design and photography goes hand in hand. Most of the time, if someone doesn't have a professionally photographed space, they likely also do not have a professionally designed house. So let's just look here. I mean, you can tell the pictures are dark, they're crooked. They're not aligned. Airbnb can tag that and note it. You can feel the distortion. One picture is angled like this. The alignment isn't right. That's what you're paying for when you have a professional camera with a professional editor to get the alignment right. So it's not just someone going and bringing their fun camera that they bought as a hobby. There is a lot involved in getting alignment right with the editing and the shots themselves. Uh, this is an example of what not to do in your top 5 cover photos. What is this? We cannot tell. Oh, it's a view. That's what it is. So the fact that I didn't know, this isn't where we demonstrate pictures of views. It doesn't make sense. So don't do that. Um, Again, just dark, misaligned. You can see the fuzziness. The pictures are fuzzy. You can see an iPhone in the mirror. So, uh, no one in this group is doing this. I'm giving you guys extreme examples, but I think the point that I am trying to make is Don't cheap out on your photographer because it can make or break. Yes, you can still get stays and good reviews, but I promise you will not be able to charge what somebody with this type of photography and design can charge. You just can't. End of story. And our goals in this group are not to just host people for the sake of hosting people. Everyone in this group is aiming towards a goal, a business that they're trying to build, or being the 1%, or having retirement, or passive income, whatever it may be. So again, here are some other examples of what not to do. This is a less drastic version. You can see there's no design. And typically, if we don't have pro photos, we don't have pro design. But they're just not right. The lighting isn't right, the angles aren't right, and it makes a difference. I personally don't feel a need to be like, I want to stay there. I would probably stay in a home like this if I was on an extreme budget and or booking something at the last minute and had limited availability. Those are the types of bookers that properties like this are getting. These photos are a little bit overexposed. So this is where a professional comes in. The editing has to be right with the light coming through the windows and the colors balancing out against all of the grays and blacks. So uh something's not edited right. And I'm not a photographer, but true, real professional photographers can edit to make the lighting maximized and the colors, like, it shouldn't. I feel like maybe this was edited to brighten and it's not working there. I don't know if you let me know if you guys agree, but something about it is different than, let me click on another good one just to remind you what really great pictures look like. Something about it is just different than this, the interior photos and the lighting. So this one's hilarious. They're playing a really unique angle. Um, so I think you guys get kind of the gist. Oh, I did label it bad. I should change that to not so good, to be nice. But yeah, I think that's essentially my spiel. I want you guys to practice. This is good for anyone who doesn't have a listing live yet. It's good to act as a traveler on Airbnb and just scroll. Like, go to your location and you're gonna be, oopsies, you're gonna be in Arvada. So let's just say there's a lot of good properties in Arvada. Arvada, whatever, let's just search. And you can see there's our listing. These are pulling up on the top because I just clicked on them. That's the way the algorithm looked. This is cute. So go through and see what's my competition? Like, what am I dealing with here? Who's around me? Find your streets. So you're gonna be over here in this area. I think Steve, you'll kind of be over here. So see what properties are popping up and who, this is a 6-bed property, so see what they're looking like and see what their pictures are like. They clearly didn't cheap out on their photography. So that's what I advise people to do. I like to give advice for hosts who have been hosting for a while and hosts who are about to host, and help you figure out what you should be doing with your time outside of these coaching calls to start preparing. I think that's all I have for my spiel on photography. Um, let's see. Did I miss anything? Any questions? I think we've got a question in the chat here. Um, Uh, Dana said, I know we talked about ChatGPT. What prompts would you use to get shot list ideas for both just the home as well as lifestyle photos? So we can brainstorm this together, Dana. I don't know if you have any ideas specifically, and we can kind of rework a prompt that you already have. I'd love to do that with you. I don't have an example really off the top of my head. But I love to work through one that you're thinking.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't have it. I'm not on my laptop now. I'm actually running to a meeting for my kid's CCD, but um, we
Oh, we might have lost you. I think we lost Dana. Try.
creating.
Oh,
Um,
hey Dana, you
yep.
cut out for the last minute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. Um, because I've talked to ChatGPT so much that it kind of knows, okay, I am an owner of two short-term rentals, their names, and that our, brand voice is creating, providing unique luxury stays for families and friends to create memories of their own. Um, and I put in, our guest avatar and just saying that family shots. And it has, I mean, some of the things that they give you, they can produce photos and, okay, this is what the kids should wear. And
Mhm.
I just didn't know if there's anything that specific prompts that you would put in, or um, even just for other people in general, like, hey, when you're thinking about your shot list to give to your photographer, type it into ChatGPT, say, short-term rental. I don't know, like for me, I lay out, we would like to highlight some of our unique features, our outdoor, pool with the bar area, the fire pit, and then if it can come up with ideas focusing on, shots that can create emotion around those unique features to, I guess, get the best shots and the details. I just didn't know if you had some like hack or um, your own prompts that you like to use or ideas for that.
You're spot on. Everything you just said was what was in my head. So you said unique, you said amenities, emotion. You could use the word differentiate, um, clicks. You've got
Okay.
it, Dana. Like you're,
Okay.
yeah, you, however you want to word that. And sometimes you
Mhm.
can even ask, I'm not an AI expert by any means,
Yeah.
but I'm working on getting better at how I prompt. But you could even say, what do you need to know from me to get the best output from you in regards to how to get my photography checklist? And
Mhm.
then you're almost like having the AI tell you what you need to ask, which is so
Uh,
crazy. I'm like, gosh, eventually we're not gonna be able to think for ourselves. But
I know.
um,
Don't always believe what it tells you though, because
yeah,
it's not always true.
yeah, yes. Well, and there is something, AI can drift off or kind of have its own bias or so yes, 100% fact checking and using the human element. But with photography, um, I'd say it'd be pretty easy or obvious to know if you're getting bad feedback or bad information. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, you're right, Steve. Don't always trust.
I asked it for the lottery ticket the other day,
Uh,
what the numbers were the day after, and it gave me the numbers 2 days before that.
Oh, interesting. Did you ask it what
It,
to?
it, it gave me the answer of September 3rd that these were the lottery numbers and they were actually September 1st ones.
Oh,
So then I
interesting.
asked AI, how come is it that you don't know them? I said, I thought you're supposed to be smarter than me. You should have seen the answer it came back with. It's just crazy. And I found many times I've taken AI now and trying to graph something or make a chart, and it says it's done. It's not done. Then I
Yeah.
say it doesn't work yet. And then it says, well, I took this out and now it works. So the last time I said, after 4 times, I says, this time it doesn't work. And before you send it to me, try yourself. It more or less says, no, I'm not doing it no more. I'm done.
Yeah,
It's
they're
crazy. I mean, I thought it was like everything is like really good, and it's a fantastic tool. Don't get me wrong, but
I think
it's
we have a long way to go.
don't believe that everything it tells you is right, because I thought I actually run on a lottery ticket and I didn't. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, if only it could tell us exactly what the lottery numbers will be, and then we could all win the
Yeah,
lottery.
but this was a lottery it drew. So how could that be wrong?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was just the night before. It should have been right. It said, "I'm sorry, I should have double checked myself."
I love that. That's funny.
It's crazy.
Well, yes. So good reminder. But I think you've got the gist of it, Dana. All of those key words that you said. Um, be confident in that because that's what came to my brain. So you've got
Okay,
this. Uh,
cool.
yeah, I think that I mean, first of all, your photos are fabulous. I am really excited to see these additional photos. With all of this said, I don't want anyone watching this call or in this call to feel this immense amount of pressure to get it all perfect because we never will, right? And the cool thing about hiring somebody is you can always bring them back. And there's always a lesson to be learned. So I experienced this, and I'm here doing the coaching calls for you all, but I had a property photographed recently and I didn't have my checklist, and I completely spaced the backyard, the backyard landscaping. It happens, you guys. But guess what? We're human. We can make corrections, we can learn from mistakes, reschedule people, and all will be okay. If you get photos back that you're like, oh gosh, I really, I was expecting XYZ, don't harass your photographer. I've seen this from experience where someone articulated wanting something one way, and that's what was provided. And then, suddenly comes back with all these different ideas. Don't be that person. Be somebody who works with your vendors and understands that it's all about communication and setting expectations both ways. So I think that's a takeaway that it sounds like, Dana, you've got a good relationship with your photographer where you can kind of have those discussions about, hey, this went really well. Next time we do a shoot, let's do, XYZ or work together with your vendors.
Yeah, and like you had said, you can even like sometimes the different seasons. So if you feel like you missed something, in the summer shots, as long as it's like weather appropriate or whatever, you can have them come back and get winter shots, and then you could have them, oh, we added this to the game room or whatever, and get those other shots during that time. Or sometimes the weather doesn't pan out like you hoped it would, and you have to take more photos. So um, that's kind of what we're doing, and we're using it as an opportunity. And then if anyone has any tips or tricks as to how to get your kids to cooperate to be models besides ice cream bribery, I'm all ears to hear how to do that too. So
That's a great
um,
question. We'll have to have, that's a good post for the circle group, I feel like.
yeah,
Get those. Also like maybe you can show your kiddos other pictures on Airbnb with kids in it in the pictures and say, this is what it's going to be like, kind of do almost an expectations of
yeah,
what it's going
that's
to
a good
be like.
idea.
Yeah, I would do that. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I
Well,
think
I love being on calls with you. They're always so informative and helpful.
back
Um,
at you. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm glad you all were here. We can end a few minutes early. We've got 3 minutes left in the call, but you guys are great. Reach out to me with any questions. Steve, I'm here if you have any questions about Arvada. I'm really excited for you.
Yeah, when I get out, I'm gonna
All
have to come out
right.
and see it, but they claim they're gonna be done.
Thank
So
you. I thought
Hi, Dana.
you've
bye.
never worked with the plus one or
Um,
1% group, their design
uh,
group?
so correct.